Well, hello and welcome back to the DCUK podcast. This is season 6 and it is episode 6. And as always, I'm your host, James Graham. Well, it's good to be back. It's been a while. It's been almost a month yet again. Another bit of a break, and I apologise that has happened. But, trying to get back into it. We're going to have a watch along this weekend. That's going to be amazing. We've got the Red Bulls coming up this weekend. But as always, on the show, we're going to be looking at the club news and other bits of news that have happened around the world. A look back at that unfortunate defeat at the weekend as well. Not the best results, to say the least, and it hasn't been the best form recently as well. So we're going to be taking a little look at that as well. And if you've got any thoughts or questions, please do hit them up in the chat there. I will be able to see it if I look up here. I will be able to see it over this side on the chat. So if you do have anything to say about what's happened recently, if you've got any questions for me, please do send them in and I'll answer them on the show. And, well, the show's got a bit of a sponsor. I'm wearing some of the kit. And, we've got to allow the sponsors to have their say, so let's hear from the show sponsors.
Are you eager to fuel the growth of soccer in the US while showcasing your passion for the sport? Well, look no further than Pitch Invaders, the ultimate online apparel destination tailored for the soccer community. Based in Arlington, Virginia, Pitch Invaders offers a dynamic range of casual and athletic gear designed to let you express your love for both the game on and off the pitch. But Pitch Invaders isn't just about trendy merch, it's a movement. They proudly partner with local soccer clubs and associations, actively contributing to the growth and expansion of the sport across the US. Community is at the heart of everything they do. As a special treat for our podcast listeners, use code DCUK for an exclusive 15% discount on all purchases at pitchinvadersusa.com. By supporting Pitch Invaders, you're not just showing your love for the soccer, you're also backing a brand committed to fostering community and making a difference in the sport. Don't miss out on this opportunity to rep your love for the soccer, support the community, and look absolutely fantastic while doing it. Visit pitchinvadersusa.com today and join us in proclaiming that the pitch is for the people.
And there you go. And, it is nice merch. So go ahead and go and get yourself some there. And before we actually do, you might see a brand new cap, DCUK. That's the right side. Nope, it is Adidas, and I've got the headphones covering it, but you'll see DCUK on the side just there as well. So check out the links in the description below. But you know what? We do have to do the ye olde news. So let's hit the theme tune.0 So yes, we've got some news, we've got some things to shout about. And, let's go through it. So first up, we all know that DC United are currently down on the luck when it comes to injuries, suspensions, and just having a good enough roster right now. We've had to recall a couple of players from loan because if we didn't, we'd barely have any outfield players on the bench. So Hayden Sargas has returned from Las Vegas Lights. He went on loan on March 5th and he ended up playing 9 matches and getting a total of 358 minutes in total. Hello, Stu. Welcome to the show. Yes, Sargas has played a fair number of minutes, around 4 full matches out of 9. So a lot of the time he's been coming off or coming on as a substitute, and a decent amount of time being played out there. And then Jeremy Garay, who's been over at El Paso Locomotive. Again, he's appeared in 9 matches, but for him, only an overall of 101 minutes. So not a huge amount of time out there. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. And I imagine both of those are going to be there to be used as emergencies only and being on the bench. And I'll give you a bit more detail about what that's looking like when we do the preview for tomorrow's fixture against the New Jersey Pink Cows. Other bits of news, DC former players. Rafa Romo was on international duty this week and somehow managed to keep the Mexican team from scoring, which is fair play. I didn't really do that for Russ when he was over at DC United. He was more of a midfielder rather than a goalkeeper. And yeah, in the post-match interviews, he talked about his what he was saying was a bit of a nightmare stint in MLS. Don't know who that was a nightmare for. Was that us or for him? Because, you know, his record in goal wasn't the best, shall we say. And other former DC players who were making their mark on the international stage was Eric Davis and Jose Fajardo as well, appearing for Panama in their shock win against the USA. Sorry to mention that to you folks out there who are listening over across the pond. What the heck happened? That was a bit of a, like I said, quite a shock result to say the least, with Panama beating USA. Yeah, what the heck happened? It was mad. There was a couple of sending offs as well. I'm just bringing the game back up. But yeah, Adalberto Carrasquilla for Panama getting sent off in the 88th minute. Timothy Weah getting sent off in the 18th minute. So USA down to 10 men for the majority of the game, with a bit of a FM legend, Wonder Kids, Falarin Balogun scoring in the 22nd minute, and then Panama bringing it back round. Yeah, it's not a good look for USA, that one. Not a good look. Apparently that was on Premier Sports as well over here in the UK, a pay TV channel. But yeah, leaves USA's second place in Group C. They've got Uruguay left to play, and Panama are taking on Bolivia. So that's a bit tricky. USA could be getting knocked out here in the group stage. Not what they would want to see at this stage, but USA playing Uruguay on July 1st, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're going to watch that, go for it. Other news around the world. My team here in the UK, Middlesbrough, they've signed an MLS player in Aidan Morris from Columbus Crew. I'm very pleased about this signing because two things. One, he's actually a really good player, so I'm happy that he's signed for us. But two, it means he stops scoring bangers against DC United. It's a win-win. Middlesbrough get a good player. Aidan Morris gets experience in England in the Championship, and one of the toughest leagues in England. It's an incredibly competitive league. Anyone can win this one in this league, and it's a slog. 46 games, league games. Then you've got the League Cup. Then you've got the FA Cup. Yeah, it's a tough league to be playing in. So we've got that. And then a sister club of DC United, DC Power FC, the female team who are going to be playing in the US WSL. A bit of a mouthful. But they've signed their first players. The first player in history to sign for the club was, I'm probably going to butcher the name now, so apologies, Jorian Baucom. She signed from Hibernian in Scotland. Then Anna Bagley, hopefully I didn't butcher that one. She signs her first pro contract. And then Adelaide Gay from Fortuna Hjørring in Denmark. So we've got a few players there as well. And yeah, there's a few injuries, few things like that. So we're going to be talking about that later on in the episode. But that is all for the news for now. So we're going to get the old theme tune back on to close out the news. I do love that news theme tune. It is absolutely wicked. So yeah, we do have to talk about that game from last weekend. It's a game that I didn't watch in the end. I had a bit of a tough end of the week last week. I ended up traveling. How many miles was it? Like 470 miles in total in the space of 27 hours. That was on Friday evening. I travelled up to see my family in the north and then came back down on Saturday. And when I got back, I was a bit tired, to say the least. So it was a lot of driving. Around, it would have been, 9.5 hours in total? So to say I was tired would have been a bit of an understatement. So, didn't stay up for this one, but have watched the highlights. And, not particularly good. It was obviously Ben Olsen's first return to, I think it was his first return to Audi Field since leaving the club and, as a head coach anyway. And you know what? He couldn't have asked for anything better, really, from his point of view. 4-1 victory. Granted, we did take the lead in the first half when we were 1-0 up at half time and things were looking rosy. Things were looking good. But don't know what was said at half time, but for some reason we just capitulated and we just, really don't know what happened. Granted, there's only so much you can put in a 7-minute highlight. Haven't watched the full game, probably should, but to get a full picture. But the things were said in the DCUK chat and on Discord and places on social media, it was not good at all. We had 2 players sent off. Benteke getting sent off in the 66th minute, not really helping matters. Was booked. The cross came in. The defender did what defenders do and draw a foul. He just kind of just stood there. Benteke is obviously coming in to try and win the header. He's put his hands out like that, and the defender's gone down, and it was a free kick. I don't know why Benteke overreacted, but he's just suddenly snapped. The referee's given him a yellow, which is probably a bit harsh in the grand scheme of things, but he might have, again, because I've not watched the full game, there could have been a run-up of him committing fouls, which he does do quite a lot. He does commit a heck of a lot of fouls, but that's the nature of him. He's a big guy. He's going to be the kind of player who will commit those types of fouls. And he got angry and decided to call the ref I'm going to use a rhyming word for this one, a little snitch. You can probably figure out what the rhyming word is for that one. He called him a ducking snitch, if you want to put it that way. And the referee didn't take too kindly to that and pulled out the red. It's not even a second booking, but a straight red. And it's the case of Benteke getting an undisclosed fine. So take what you will from that. It's probably, would it even be a week's wage? Probably not. It's probably spare change. To us normal humans, it's going to be a lot of money, but to him, it's probably nothing really. Hopefully that gets put to some good use, maybe to a charity or something like that. Would be nice to see. And then Akinbone sent off for 2 yellow cards. First, yellow card looked probably a bit harsh in my book, but again, it's a yellow card. It is what it is. And then towards the end of the game, Houston counterattacked. He stuck out a leg, and definite second yellow card. So that means he's out of this weekend's game. And we finished the game with 9 men, but by that point it was all over anyway. Ferreira scoring a hat-trick, 1 being a penalty. Second goal was probably a bit too easy to score. We should have closed that down a lot better. Third goal was pretty decent, so can't really argue with that one. Good to see Miller returning to the lineup. Took some decent catches. Great to see him return after injury. It's been a long time for him. And hopefully this is a start where he's actually going to be better in goal than he is in midfield, from what we've seen when he was playing under Rooney. Because, that was interesting, to say the least. Never really a midfielder. Kind of let you run through the stats now. pretty much nigh on 50-50 percent possession between the two teams, even though, we were down to 10 men for the last half an hour, 35 minutes, granted with added time, 49.6 to 50.4. Shots was a little bit more one-sided, 9 shots to DC, 16 to Houston Dynamo, 3 on target for us, 8 for them. We attempted 9 crosses in total, which is typical for us, because obviously we got the aerial threat of Benteke in the middle. Houston only had 2. And then 19 committed fouls for us to Houston's 11. And that's where you can start to see maybe he's a little bit one-sided from the referee, potentially. And then 5 yellow cards to their 1 as well. So there is a bit of disparity there. And obviously we finished the game with 2 red cards. Expected goals, 1.7 to 2.5. So in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to that, on paper, Houston deserved the win. There was a lot of talk about the ref being on a bit of a ego trip as well, losing the game. And again, without really seeing the full match in its whole entirety, can't really comment too much, but I'll be able to have a bit more of a better opinion when it comes to next week's show, and obviously the game this weekend against the New York Red Bulls. If we're going to give them their proper title, Red Bull New York, or should we just go with New Jersey Pinkhausen FTRB? So this weekend's game, we're kind of flying through this episode a little bit. It's probably going to be nice, short, sweet. Again, if you've got any comments or any questions, please do hit them up in the chat. This week's episode going to be nice and quick. Hopefully, it won't take too much of your time before the game this weekend. DC United, we are at the Red Bull Arena against the Red Bulls, June 29th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Probably actual kickoff 7:40 because we know what it's like, which means it's a 12:30 kickoff in the morning for us over here on this side of the pond, on this side of the Atlantic. We're just going to go over to the browser because, we're going to show up on screen what it is currently like. So you'll be able to see up on screen if you're watching this on YouTube. If not, then get ready to be talked up for a little bit. So you'll be able to see up over here on YouTube. I am pointing to my Chrome browser. New York Red Bulls to DC wins 41 to 19 to 44. So New York Red Bulls have won 41 times in this match. We've won 44 and we've had 19 draws. So that is, this weekend is the 105th matchup between the two teams. Recently, it's not looked good for DC. 3 defeats on the bounce against these guys. It's hurtful. It's painful. It's not nice. We've conceded 10 goals in the last 3 matches. Our most recent one being a 4-1 defeat at home last month, which feels strange, that the fact that we're already playing them again. MLS schedule has a lot to be desired. And then, last season we got beat 5-3 at home, even though Benteke scored a hat-trick in that game, and a 1-0 defeat at the Red Bulls as well. So if we look at how the two teams tend to play, you'll be looking at the Red Bulls. They tend to have this particular way of playing, which is kind of a high press, but they also do a bit of a counter-attack when you look at how they play as well. Their expected goals that they should have scored so far this season is 33.7 to our 39. And if we look at the standings, they've actually scored 34. So that's pretty much bang on. And when you look at ours, we've only scored 26. So, not so good for DC United. We are way behind where we should be in terms of goals. We average save of 3 shots a match to their 2.5. So, if you base it on that, based on how many average shots on target as well, you're probably looking at that as at 2. 2-1, maybe 2-2 scoreline based on the averages on paper. Stu, nice early kickoff this weekend. Barely even need a dozen coffees. Maybe 1 or 2. We'll see. I might have had a couple of beers by then because I'm off to a barbecue tomorrow as well. That's going to be nice. Looking forward to that. So we're going to go. Cheers. Then if we look at sort of the recent form as well. So if we look at Red Bull's form, they've only had 1 defeat in the last 5. 1 defeat, but only 2 wins and 2 draws. If we look a little bit further back, that then becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 3 defeats in the last 10, 2 draws, and then 5 victories. So, they are on pretty decent form. Obviously, a lot better than what we're looking at. So we go down to DC United. We're able to see that here. You might not be able to see it too well on your screen, but here we go. So in the last 10 matches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1 win in our last 10 matches with 3 draws and 6 defeats. So, yeah, when you compare the 2 teams' forms, there's a hell of a difference between the 2. We've had 3 defeats on the bounce. That's the first time we've done that this season. It's not looking good for us, shall we say. Not looking good for us. And Red Bulls are undefeated in the last 3 matches as well. So, yeah. Rather tough. And if we look at the standings, Red Bulls are 3rd. They're doing a lot better than they did last season. And we're down to 13th now. And that could get potentially a lot worse, depending on Montreal and Chicago. They've got a game in hand on us. Yeah. Didn't even think about that. If we look at the regular season, let's see when they've got their game in hand. Is it midweek? No. Yeah, it's probably going to be a little while before they have there's Chicago against San Jose. Yeah. We could end up being bottom very soon of the East if we don't book our ideas up. And I hope Troy's listening to that, because being bottom is not great. And there's a question which I was going to answer later on in the episode, which was 0.95 points per game is embarrassing. Is it time for Troy Lassane out? I'll actually answer that later on. But just to highlight, we are points per game wise worse than the East at the moment. Granted, we're not worst overall, somehow, because you've got Kansas City, who are on 0.7 points a game, and San Jose are on 0.58. So they're doing really bad right now. Yeah, that's amazing how badly those 2 sides are doing. So if you think about it, it could be a heck of a lot worse. Stu, with Benteke serving some time on the sidelines, where do you think the goals can come from? That's a great question. Let's have a look at those stats. Go to the player stats, and we will filter that down to DC United. And, well, let's have a look. Benteke, who scored 14 goals for us so far this season, following up with Click and Ted Cudepietro on 2 goals apiece. So, and the rest of it, the goal scorers are on 1. So, make your mind up on that one. You can absolutely see where the goals are not going to come from, which is pretty much everywhere else. Why is Ravel... you can't see it on screen right now, but so if I just move myself over to this side... Why is Ravel Morrison here? He's not been part of the team at all. What is going on? Double air. Zamudio. What are you doing behind a Jay? Well, I mean, granted, he's actually played, so that's fair enough. But why are these two guys here? And three? Why are they there? They're MLS, get your act together. I would love to see this guy get some goals. Jacob Morrow. I would love to see him add more to his goal tally. It would be great to see. I would love it to see him get more than just the one goal so far. I mean, if we take a look at this goal, it's not actually going to play. There we go. And it's just, he's got a good eye, to say the least. He can see where to actually just take a quick snapshot. You see, he's got that vision there. He's thinking, right, okay, how quickly can I take the shot? How quickly can I get an effort at goal? He looks up and sees, yep, in, boom, goal. And that's what you want from your strikers. You want to see them taking those attempts and actually having a go and getting on it. That's what I want from my team. That's what we want from our strikers. We need to be given Murrell all the opportunities that he can get the ball to him as much as possible on the edge of the box. Let him turn, let him shoot, let him drive at the players, and stop playing Coup de Pietro in the wrong position, because he is getting obliterated. If we think about him there, he's just not getting in the right positions. All he's doing is just running at the opponents, and he's not getting assists. He's not getting goals because he's not a natural finisher. It's just incredibly tough for the poor lad, and I would love to see him, but I want to see him either playing in a deeper midfield role or out wide, because I think that's where he could be most effective. I actually want to see him on the left, cutting in and actually doing a bit of trickery there, because I think that's where he could be quite effective, attacking the fullbacks. Will we see that? I don't think we've actually got the team to really be able to allow for that right now. We just don't have the depth to be able to say, switch things up. We've got to put square pegs into round holes at the moment, and it's not nice. Not nice at all. So looking at the availability for this weekend, you've got your standard players out in Connor Antley, Steve Birnbaum and Russell Knaus. Though Russell Knaus has been posting up on social media about him back in training, so hopefully he's not too far away from actually making a comeback. We'll be really, really pleased to see that happen. Fletcher and Hopkins are making good progress as well. Will we see them this weekend? That's questionable. If we do, we could have up to 18 players available in total. If not, it'll be 16. Garrison Tubbs, unfortunately, is out as well. He's picked up a concussion, so he's not able to play this weekend. And good news, though, Chris McVeigh, if you remember Stu, we did talk about it, and in that episode that wasn't released, but we did actually have a good chat about DC and actually talking about some of our favourite players at the moment as well. McVeigh could be making a comeback this weekend, though the club is currently looking at being a bit cautious of this. They don't want to rush him back too soon and having him out for longer, which is absolutely the right thing to do here. We do not want to be rushing players back and causing them to be out even longer. So yeah, best case scenario, we'll have 18 players available, which means we'll actually have a decent bench, but that is with 2 sub-keepers as well. Worst case scenario, we'll have 16 available. That'll be 2 keepers. That'll mean 14 out. That'll be 3 outfield players on the bench. And 2 of those will be players that we've recalled from loan as well in Garay and Saga. So if we didn't recall them, that would have been 1 outfield player. And that is just unreal. This feels like, I don't know whether you guys remember a few years ago when we were in this position where we just could not fill a bench, and it must be like about around 3 years ago. Yeah, and we were incredibly struggling to fill a bench, and I remember when we had to bring in Eric Sorga early on in the season just to get some people on the bench as well. Stu, given the injury crisis, absolutely leave players out to recover probably, or else we'll be playing 10v11 every week. It does feel like we'll end up playing our keepers outfield. And I think it was in the DCUK Twitter chat. They were talking about Miller in goal and then Bono fullback, or the other way around. And I'm just like, I want to laugh, but if we keep going like the way we are, that could happen. It could happen. We don't want it to happen, but it could happen. So, yeah. In terms of the Pink Cows, you've got their DPs of Emil Forsberg, who's questionable for this weekend's game, and Dante Van Zier, who's in the same vein as Taxi Funtas. You probably don't need me to speak about that anymore. They've got a couple of players in the U22 initiative, like we've got with Pirani, Andre Reyes, who's a defender, and Dennis. I'm going to pronounce this like the Pokemon of Gengar. I again probably butchered that, but he's a forward. Not come across him before, so it'll be interesting to see if he makes any appearances, or if he's available or whatever. And they don't have any Generation Adidas players. So looking at this weekend's game, what are the keys for this match? What will drive us to victory? One thing we need to make sure we do is make it through the game without any further play losses. That would be nice. No, please, no one get sent off. Keep yourselves on the pitch and don't get injured. But in all seriousness, we don't have Benteke, so we've got to be adaptive to how we move up the pitch. It's not going to be because of a long ball, and if we do, we're going to be struggling. So we've got to be able to adapt to our style of play whether that's through the middle or playing out a little bit wider, and get whipped crosses into Murrell, who will be leading the line this weekend, I would imagine. It's going to be a very, very tricky game for us if we just keep pumping the ball along. I know it's something we've done all season, but we do need to be able to adapt to our situation. We got to be patient. It looks like the Rebels tend to allow their opponents to dictate some of the play and are happy to press, win the ball back, and attack quickly. And that's the other thing that we need to be wary about is their quick attack. They're very good. They are lethal, and they are there because they are a good team. They're currently third in the East. They're in good form. They're sixth overall in the Supporters' Shield. We've got to be incredibly careful this weekend. Grind it out. If we can get a point on the road, that'll be a good point to say the least. But if we can sneak a victory in, I think we'll all be incredibly surprised and maybe just have to raise a toast as well to that one. But given our current form, I can't see us doing anything more than a point this weekend, and that is painful for me to say. When you look at it on paper between the two sides, let me just bring it back up again. You look at average shots attempted in the game is very, very close. Shots on goal, on target, one in it, if that. Blocked shots, we have more. Total passes is very similar. Passing accuracy isn't actually that far off either. Corners is near enough the same. We do get caught offside a bit more. Benteke does happen quite a lot. Aerial duels, we dominate that, and we know the reason why. Expected goals, we're leading than that one. But again, we're relying on one player at the moment. Saves, slightly ahead on that one. And then clearances, again, as I mentioned, Red Bulls, they have a lot more clearances than what we do. So that is where we're going to be very careful about their counter, because they can clear the ball, move up the pitch very quickly, and sucker punch us. Fouls, again, we've seen it happen with us so often this season. We've been given fouls against us so often. And then with that, we have more yellow cards. So, some things you can see where the two teams differ in terms of the style of play. You look at the aerial duels and you look at the clearances and how that then translates into the goals scored. And yeah, like I said, we've just got to be very, very careful this weekend and hope that we don't get sucker punched into a 1-0 defeat, because that would be painful. But do stay tuned for that, and I will be doing, like I said, the watch along. And so if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and you'll see that come up tomorrow. And again, if you're watching this, please do like us, and if you're listening to this, again, subscribe to the podcast. And if you're listening to it on Apple or Spotify, please leave a rating. If you've got some good comments, please do leave that as well. It's always nice to see that. And that leads us to a particular question that we had left for us, and I mentioned it earlier on in the episode about our points per game, which is 0.95 at the moment. Troiler saying it's not time to kick him out, because if we sack him, where does that leave us? It leaves us languishing at the bottom, and it leaves us in the same position of where we were 12 months ago, which is where we are right now. And we're not moving forward, and it would then appear that there is no plan and there's no direction. And I don't believe that. For once, I actually believe that there is a particular direction that the club's trying to go in with Troy and Ali at the GM position. Unfortunately, there's a lot of deadwood from the Casper days, and that does take time to get through that and actually build our way out of it. You look at Jay and the fact that he's only been able to got rid of recently, and we've just not had the window to actually reopen to be able to replace him. I think this summer window is going to be a huge one for us. If we can potentially release or sell a couple of our other players who aren't as useful for us, who aren't as good at depth players or whatever reason it would be, and bring them some fresh blood, some younger blood. We were able to use a couple more of our U22 initiative slots, so let's use that. We've regained an international slot, the fact that Jay's been released. So we've got that there. It's just getting through that salary cap regulation and working our way from that. That's where it's going to take a lot of work. And it could be this season is just a complete write-off. And we just get through it and completely start from scratch from next season. It feels like we should have done that at the start of this season, but you've got player contracts and things that have to go through. So it just takes a little bit of time. So for right now, we should not change our manager. You can see the style of play as well. You can see, you looked at the start of the season, when we were playing some really exciting football, and it was genuinely entertaining to watch us play. That New England game, the 2-2 draw against Portland even, St. Louis, Montreal, the Orlando game, even though we got beat, Seattle, the Philadelphia game, the Atlanta game. Some really good, entertaining matches we've had already this season. You look at the expected goals. We are creating chances. We're just not finishing them. And we need an extra consistent body other than Benteke getting involved with the goals. If we can solve that particular part of the riddle, we will do so much better. But that is literally that one particular part of the riddle that we need to solve. Stop the sack cycle, give Troy time to build a project and progress. It's not like we have to worry about being relegated. Very true. There is pros and cons to that. And the con is there is nothing to worry about, so there's no real need to make a change. But on the flip side, that does allows us time to actually build the foundations and actually build our way up from there. So yeah, fingers crossed that answers questions and gives you some insights as to particular thoughts and where my head is. Anyway, it's not nice watching the club getting beat week in, week out, and not winning week in, week out. But I'm positive that we'll get through it and we'll get there. We've got the League's Cup coming up soon, which it gives us the break from the league. Not that I like the tournament. I mean, you know my thoughts on that one. We should not have had the League's Cup. It's a pointless trophy that's only there to serve the greed of the league. So, yeah, I'm really, really annoyed about that particular time. That starts at the end of next month, on July 26th, when we play Atlanta in the first game of the League's Cup. But before that, we have a game against Celtic in an international friendly match. Celtic come over to these shores to take on DC United. It'll be interesting to see what kind of team we put out there, because you've got Minnesota the weekend on the 17th of July. So there's a few days between the two when we're away as well. So we're traveling back, and then we're traveling again over to Atlanta. But there is a few more days in between those two. So yeah, so we end MLS regular season matches on the 18th of July, and then that then resumes on the 25th of August. So there's a good amount of time between those, and that hopefully, if things haven't gotten any better, that then gives us the opportunity to reset and start fresh and have a good stretch towards the end of the season, because we then play Dallas, Toronto, Chicago. Opportunities for us right there. Yeah, hopefully that will sort things out for us. But that's it for this week's show. Nice to be back in front of the camera talking to you guys. As mentioned, please do pick up some Pitch Invaders merch, or pick up some new Adidas stuff from the DCUK store. Please do follow us on social media, as you can see down there. Follow us on Facebook at DC United Kingdom FC. On Instagram, it's at DCUK FC, and on Twitter, it's at DC United Kingdom. And as mentioned before, please do subscribe to us on YouTube as well, so you get to see all the watch-alongs and keep up to date with the podcast. And again, if you listen to us, make sure you do subscribe and share it with your friends as well. If you want to become a DCUK member, again, links in the description, and please do support us in any way, shape or form, and share with your friends. And that is everything for this week's show. Thank you for watching if you've been watching. Thank you for listening if you've been listening. And yeah, until next time, Vamos United.